Hello and welcome to Time with Dr. Harris. I'm so glad that you've chosen another time that you can come spend it with us. I know I'm doing a series on beauty of the woman, and last week's series was dealing with sexuality. I'm hoping that you follow that. But this week we're dealing with the wonderful gift of singleness, and I want to introduce you to my guest. My guest is Seleana Watkins, who's been my mentee for 15 years. And I can't think of anybody that is as awesome as she is as a single woman, single godly woman, that does all the awesome things that she does. And I just want to introduce you to her and talk, and we're gonna go over and talk about all kinds of things, because that's how we do when we just talk. And I want you to, when I met Seleana, she was a young lady who had dreams and desires and a destiny. And what I loved about her as a woman was that whatever it took for her to get there, she was willing to do. And that's one of the things I would like us to start to deal with is that, but I also want you to look at, this is the book, and we're doing a series. And the series we're doing today is the wonderfulness of being single, okay? So I want to introduce you to Seleana. Hello. So Seleana, one of the things that I remember I will never forget was all the great and wonderful things that you do, even as a young lady, to reach your destiny. And I remember you talked about how you did Here for Me, you did when you were doing your clothing and all that. By the way, she has two of her ministries are Community of Praise that we are going to talk about, and Seleana Designs because she is an awesome designer. But before that, we want to talk about her journey. Okay, so Seleana, I want you to share with our audience what you share with me is why you did certain things you did. There was a reason and purpose for every part that you were doing, even to that.
Well, I would say, first of all, it's important to know your passion. My passion has always been dance from when I was a little girl. That was part of my therapy. There was a lot of trauma in home, and I used dance to be a way to pretty much therapy for me. And I was able to tap into a young age. So as I got older, I began wanting to inspire others.
Yes.
But it was also encouraged and pushed in me that you want to dance for the Lord. My mother, which I love her, she really pushed that. I actually wanted to dance behind MC Hammer. I had all his outfits. I was very inspired by him, Janet Jackson, a lot of the secular artists. I was very inspired. With my father being a PK, we used to actually, when he would leave, we would turn on secular music and just dance in the hallway. So that's actually where I first started developing dances when I was younger. And then as I got older, I continued in it. So I would say sometime in 2009, I don't think I may have been driving a school bus yet, or got my CDLs when I was 21. I was one of the first CDL, the youngest CDL bus driver. So around that time, it was in my spirit that I wanted to bring dance, everything that I loved about it, and with others, because I was getting calls. People had knew about me in the church, and I was beginning to work with other dancers as far as choreography. So I came up with this thing like, I need to have my own dance production. But before that, I was driving school bus. I remember walking around I was asking the Lord, what would my dance group be called? And because I worked with so many people in the community, it became to me and one of the other bus drivers was like, what about Community of Praise? Mm-hmm. And that's actually how that name came on, Community of Praise Dance Studio. So I began just to, make up flyers. When I got my CDLs, I worked for the county first. So that was working with mental retardation, pretty much students. But then as I went on, I drove for Columbus Public School for 1 year. And that's when I really start tapping into the kids in my school bus. And I started my first dance team using the kids on the school bus. And then people in the community, so things like that. So, but I was definitely inspired. I mean, I was one of the New Covenant believers. I was one of the first dancers there around that same time too. So everything was happening I was actually younger, teenager, but that's when liturgical praise dance was introduced, because I never even knew that they we were able to dance in the church,
Right,
because the way I
right.
was raised under a really strict, Christian home, we could not dance. So then when I was like, wow, you can actually dance for the Lord. Then when liturgical praise dance was introduced to me when I was about 16 at New Covenant, I was able to be exposed to it. And I just took it just as I just kept taking it to that other level. And that's where it all become. And as I had my first dance production in '09, I had at Pickerington North High School, and I had about 200 people there. My family has always supported me. I made about maybe 25 dance garments there, maybe more than that. That's where actually I start having the inspiration to sew as well, because my love for dance, then here came the outfit. So that's where all that started, as designing.
Well, I remember going to one of your productions, was awesome. And the outfits was like beautiful. It was hard to believe that you were making things. Yes. It was like, wow. But the thing that really got me, guys, was at the end, she came out, she does all kind of awesome things. She came out with her skates.
Yes.
I'll never forget that. Mm-hmm. And then other people that she had in the production, and they're dancing with the skates. I mean, it's, the phenomenal of the things that you do, Seleana, as for Christ. The thing is, both of us being raised in church, those are things that we didn't grow up, we could do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we're both very creative and like to do all kind of things. And you literally do it, with your production and everything. And so even as today, you are doing through praise, you have, tell them about that.
Yeah, so even today we are preparing for my 5th dance production. I'm so excited. Where I be the choreographer, I will be the dance designer. I have been able to assign, like I do have a dance assistant and others that will be helping me along the way, but it is definitely what God has put in my belly. So it's still something I have to oversee, but we're looking to do it in April, the end of April sometime, where I have my youngest dancer is 3 years old. I go all the way into adults. I have 3 dance teams that, again, these are some of my dancers been dancing with me since they were, 3 years old. Now they're teenagers. So it's really exciting. My theory is, one thing we always say, my motto is, we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us, which strengthens us. I actually said why they're pretty much warming up or whatever. I try to inspire the younger girls that they can do all things, no matter what they look like, where they come from, the background. And that's really what I feel like God has called me to do with the dance, because it's so many young girls or young people that really just don't have that confidence or even feel like they can do anything. So that's what we do, and we're excited about it. It is a lot of work, but usually around this time, that's my main focus, because like right now I have to get ready for that and be making all the garments and the colors that go with the songs. Everything is so well put together to make it every year. I do productions every 5 years. So I just want it to be better, than the last one. It should get better. And I will end up skating too at the end. This time I do want more of choreography with the skaters, so if I can get everybody there on time.
One of the things that I love is that she's so open and willing to do what God asked her to do. And she's asked to dance so many different places. And when you see her designs, Seleana designs, I want to talk about that too. The way she puts these things together. Tell them about some designs that you do.
Well, what I do as far as design, as far as dance, I left Floyd. Like I just ministered probably 3 weeks ago at a conference called Women of Pearls, and what I didn't make this particular design, but because it has something to do with pearls, I ended up having pearls actually draped on me to kind of go with the actual conference. And then we had a really prominent artist come in, gospel artist come in about a month ago, Jacqueline Carr, and I was asked to minister there. I actually made my garment for that weekend, and it was like a auburn flowy type with turquoise. I did some type of turquoise emblem on the top, but usually I just try to flow with the theme of the event. I always ask whoever I'm ministering, whoever I'm a part of, what is their theme? What is the colors? Because I always like to be on one accord with them. And when I'm doing all my productions, it's like I said, it's normally I'm inspired by God. Like now I'm praying like, Lord, what colors, or I go to the fabric store, I look at some of the colors, but it's always normally going to flow with the actual songs. The colors and all that's going to flow with the songs and the movement pretty much. But the songs is very important to the outfits and the colors, because all the colors mean something.
So if
Just
somebody
make cool
wanted
colors.
to have something designed, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, I do use Facebook a lot. And so a lot of my Facebook, my email, and then of course I'm more personal. So most of my contact has been through other people. Like I made a really nice prom dress, probably 4 or 5 months ago. Someone told someone about me and they contacted me through that. So a lot of it is just through references of just experience from other people knowing about me.
Is
So
that the same thing with Community of Praise?
no, it's totally different. My designs, Seleana designs like prom dresses and etc. That is opposite of community. Community of Praise is more so for my dance company. It's dealing with the production or when I'm doing different things for Community of Praise is just for the dance studio, the girls that I work with. Anything outside of that is just Seleana designs or if it's different churches that reach out to me, that's totally separate. So it's going to be a totally different, I would say, different things that I'm doing. Just depends. But yeah, Community Praise is focused on my dance studio.
Well, now that you know about that, we're going to get a little personal.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons why I want to use her as an example of a young lady, a woman who is single. It's not just that she's single, but that she's a godly woman. And I want to talk about the fact that even as being single, it's difficult. What you said. What are some of the things that you feel as a single woman that we as women have to deal with?
I think the pressure sometimes, I would say from my experience, is the pressure of others. Like for me, I have been married before. I was married at a young age and divorced at 33. But I think what I get is, oh, Seleana, you're this, you're that. What? You ain't married yet? So I think it's the pressure. I think if we can get past the pressure of other people, you're fine. I mean, you be, and then know who you are in God. That's the number one important thing. Because if you know who you are in God, and through the help of you and just the relationship of me growing as I got older, you just become more okay with where you are. Because I think, as the Bible says, you got to kind of, we already know if you totally depend on God, then you know that He is leading you. Well, if you're in His will, you're being led by. He is definitely leading you. So it's just about just having peace and just know that He is directing you. You'll be fine.
But how do you have peace being single when the pressure is to have somebody in your life?
Just staying in the Word. Daily I'm in the Word, whether it's audio, whether it's, it's just word and prayer and just having that lifestyle of every day, like, really making sure you're connected with God. That's the only way you can do it because, yes, the pressure really gets hard. And then temptation. So you're going to have different people coming at you all the time.
Right.
And you definitely want to make sure, if you're led by the Spirit, you want to make sure it's right. And sometimes you still have to constantly confirmation on because we just don't want to be. It's definitely different, especially being a woman, because sometimes we can be a little more, to me, naive or a little more, than but I think it's from what I experienced more of the pressure. You get past that and just know who you are and being okay. Because I think I've always been confident in that. In the sense of, I can really do a lot by myself, even though I'm such a family and sociable person. But I think being okay with also being alone and knowing that that's more time with you and God and not with you and God first, and then also with yourself, being able to travel and being able to do the things, finding out who you are and your passion. I think a lot of people don't know.
Finding out who you are.
Who you are. And I think for me, I learned at a young age, like I said, I kind of knew one passion for sure, major was dance. So I think when you know your passion and stuff, it does really help and then operate in that. I've been blessed to, like I said, to work in the Community of Praise and with the girls and in the schools over the last years doing several productions in the schools. And I think if you're walking in that, it keeps you, it's a difference,
So I'm going to come back to your family because I know that you come from a very strong family and you guys are very united and do a lot of things together. How does that help you as a woman?
Well, I think it helps you, again, be a little more comfortable in who you are. And then I think you have, like me, the support that you get, because sometimes things you go through, you may feel like you're not worthy or something's wrong with you or, but having that has definitely built even my faith, built my walk with God and just accountability. too.
That's good. That's
It's
good.
very
Accountability.
I mean, you've been that, my mom, of course, my uncle, and I usually don't make no decisions, major decisions without praying and then talking to my mom, my uncle, and my mentor. Just so I think it's very important that you have that wisdom.
That's still unusual, Seleana, because now that people don't want to have anybody be accountable to anybody, they want to do what they want to do. But I think that one of the things that has helped you is the fact that you're open to be accountable.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, you're gonna. I mean, I think in life.
What makes you do that though? Because you know there's a lot of women who are not like that.
Well, I think what helps me is that I feel like I really don't want to. I know we gonna go through things, but I really want to go through less things, and I just want to make sure I'm operating in the will of God. I think sometimes you just need that, and just you just need that wisdom. So to me, it's just like not wanting to steer off in the wrong path. So I need that, like to stay like to help me, because as a human, as a woman, even a woman of God, sometimes we can just kind of get off. I mean, depending on where we are. And for me, I just don't want to get that far off, or where I'm just like, ooh. So I need that, you know what? This is you. So that's what keeps me.
What you just said.
My heart for God.
Bingo.
Yeah, I don't.
That you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to.
And so, would you say that the fact that you don't want to, and that wanting to please God is really important to you? That makes you want to be accountable.
Yeah, well,
and not want to do what you ever want. It's not like we don't want to do what we want to do, but we know that that's not pleasing to God. And then when we make that decision that we want to have a relationship with the Lord, let's talk about that for a minute, because I know that there are a lot of Christian women who still are not willing to do that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the heart. Like, I want to please God. I really, like, I get really convicted. Really, if I say something wrong, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm one that will apologize. And I just think just pleasing God every day of my life, I think that is a total surrenderance. I think that does make a difference, because, you know, I'm around people my age all the time, and sometimes it's like, I just don't think sometimes people have totally surrendered to the Lord.
Okay,
the heart
that's
is,
good. That's good.
you know, or even in my family, close siblings, like. So I think it goes back to that. Like, my heart is really, really, my soul really wants to please God. I don't want to be out of the God's will or just do what I want, because I really want. And then when you think about blessings too, you know, you want to be blessed by God. And one of the ways, the major thing is being obedient. So being obedient to your parents as well as to God is very important. So that's how I look at it, because I really don't want to struggle. Like, for me, not just financially, but even just, I feel like I went through a lot growing up, and I just feel like as an adult, I really don't want to just go through a whole lot of stuff that I don't need to go through. And I think if you're in the will of God and you're under His wing and you're obedient, it's not to say you're not going to go through stuff, but some of the unnecessary stuff that we do, yeah, we can kind of steer off from that, and be under God's umbrella as we walk in obedience. So that's what I think about all the time.
Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is the fact that Seleana, being the person she is, very personable and friendly, and she has a sensuality about her that she attracts a lot of men. And I want to talk about that because in my last podcast was homosexuality. That plays a major part in our lives, especially as women. So, Seleana, I know that you've had challenges with different relationships.
A lot.
Okay, and so tell me how being the kind of person that you have, being friendly and literally men are being very attracted to you. Tell me how that has affected you. How do you handle that?
Well, I think before it affects you, because I think you open yourself up to all kind of different men, you know what I mean, versus you know, I just think for me it's almost like a balance to where I'm going to still be who I am, but I think I've learned to kind of like, you know, still, but I'm very direct. So I think in that point, I try now to be careful who I allow in my space, basically. And it's not to say I didn't do that then, but I think, you know, you just have that. They'll come at you, even in the church, you'll have different men come at you. But I think you just have to have a standard and kind of set boundaries and kind of have conversations and kind of know where you are. And it will, you know, they kind of disappear. They don't stay around long.
What do you feel like some of the challenges that you have experienced with the different people that you've met, young men you have met and been in our relationships? What do you feel have been biggest challenge?
Well, I think the most challenge is like abstaining from being too close and dealing with, sex and immorality. I think sexual immorality in the church or outside the church is very huge because most people are doing it. So I think for me, practicing to live and be celibate and, not engaging in that, it was definitely challenging for me because I was married so long. So I think then I asked God to show me how to be a single godly woman where I know when I'm around, like even with touching, because I'm very affectionate. So then it's like just learning how to engage with, anybody I'm around and just certain things or even the conversations. So I just think that's
good.
That's one of the things is that, because I think as a woman, like she said, I'm already outgoing and I have a sensual personality. And so sometimes that can kind of come off a different way. And then I just have to tell them. I mean, if you don't know, now most of them know me, they know, but then you just have to, like, if it just gets to, kind of where it's inappropriate or things is said that's probably you're not comfortable, then you just have to let them know where you are. And like I said, this goes for the man in the church and out of the church.
Right.
So it's just, you just have to have, like, really have those standards and, but it's gonna be those times where, you just be like, because if you're still a woman, you're still human. And so your body go through changes and, you just gotta get through it, whether you're praying or you actually have, people you can talk to about it. And then, like I said, I think it goes back to not having an idle mind helps too, because I think just walking in your purpose helps. Like I roller skate as well. So I think you have to have, I don't have children, so it gives me more time to, with the Lord and then to do things that I like to do. Because if you're just not doing nothing, and you have a lot of idle time, I think that affects to focus on more of the temptation sometimes when you go through. But yeah, you just gotta have those boundaries and walk it out and be honest, even with that person.
Okay, let's get real. One of the things, because most women can't do that. So you like you.
Mm-hmm.
You like you.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like you can't make it in life, having your space and your time. But one thing I do know is that, like you were saying, keeping your mind and keeping yourself busy and being active, and you try to make sure you're active in positive things. Because it's easy to get active in negative things. So what makes you not go towards the negative where the majority of people do?
Yeah, I mean, roller skating is so, and like at the fabric store, I mean, like now I'm about to really hit the gym. I'm going to do one or the other, but I just think those motivation does help you. And again, it goes back into really loving yourself and then really knowing who you are, what you like, even if you got it right. What is my passion? What is it like? What do I like to do? And I just think you really do when you go through more, and that's why I say you go through more experiences. But for me, I think going through some of the challenges I have been through with the dating or just, with the certain men that I've just maybe not long term, but just even interacted with, it almost to me helped me get stronger in that situation.
Okay.
Because I think you just get to a point where, this is kind of like,
that's an unusual thought though, that you got stronger. Mm-hmm. What made you get stronger, not weaken?
Well, because I just think you get to a point where you're over it. It's almost like you kind of go through it, but then it's like, you know what, you kind of don't want to keep going through the same thing. Okay. So I feel like you learn from it, but it's like, okay, like it's really, listen, I can, if it's God, the Lord's will, I'll be with someone and it's going to be what it is. But at the end of the day, until it's where it's what it's supposed to be, I'm going to keep thriving what God's called me to be. Because I just think, for me, I'm saying sometimes frustration is not, I try not to ever make decisions out of that. But I think for me, it's just almost when you go through the experience, you almost kind of get to a point where, okay, it's you just almost become, to me, it made me stronger to where, okay, I've been through this before, or this looks familiar. So you know what? It's not going to get me again. I'm going to be able to rise among it and just next time do better.
But you're not getting bitter, you're getting stronger, which is the difference.
No, I said bigger.
No, I'm saying you're not getting,
no.
She's getting stronger, guys, but she's not getting bitter.
No.
Because a lot of women get bitter, but one of the things that I keep hearing, and tell me if I'm correct, that what helps you is you make yourself accountable, you surround yourself with positive people, mm-hmm. Your relationship with the Lord is very important to you. Mm-hmm. And even though you have these young men that you have dealt with before, it has not taken away to you knowing who you are.
Right, and it can happen, but I think again, you have to go back and to really go back to the word. Really, God is just the most important thing. I think staying in the worship, staying in fellowship with God and yourself, and just really doing that. I think it's just that self-confidence. Like I've always kind of had that.
Okay.
So as a woman, I've never been like an insecure woman to where
Praise God.
I mean, there's always something that we can improve, but I mean, I've always kind of had that confidence and just know like, okay, I definitely believe in God, the man and the woman, but at the same time, it's not like my life is gonna stop if I don't have nobody in my life. It's not, I'm gonna be able to still progress.
One of the things that I know we've talked about is in the different relationships that you have been in, it helps you to see what you don't want
Yeah.
and what you want and sticking to that and how important that is in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, because I was married so young, I didn't have that experience with really knowing how men are. Like I didn't, other than like, you know, I got great men in my family and an uncle who I'm very close to. I think it just helped me like, oh wow, okay. It helped me really identify, just like a woman, we got certain characters about us. It made me just start real like identify what type of man, well, okay, oh, okay, well, he's a laid back person. He may have a certain character or just paying attention to certain things that it helped me like, okay, yeah, I don't mind a laid back guy, but I'm just really, really have a lot of energy and personality. So if you are laid back, I still would like a man to be laid back, but still have personality because I love family. So the issue sometimes can happen is like I'm probably a person that really don't engage with people. It will probably be, and I don't want to change anybody at this age. I would. That's what I learned too. I think I tried to do that when I was younger, but I don't want to change any man. So, and you can't. But I'm saying sometimes I think as women and men, we try to do that. Like if someone is not this or that, we'll try like, man, I just need you to. I mean, that's the wrong thing. You can't do that. Just let people be who they are. Let me be who I am because I'm outgoing. I'm going to talk to people. And you ain't got to be like as probably as big personalized as me. But I do want someone who, if I'm around my family, who is very important to me, I want them to be able to engage with others because I just that's going to be important to me because if not, we're probably going to just be well off balance there.
Do you feel that men are really challenged by strong women?
Yeah, I get that a lot. I've got where I did, well, this is one thing I do. Yeah, I've got that I seem to probably independent, that I seem very busy, and I've got like I'm real reserved. I'm like, okay, well, busy, I like, you know, my schedule, I tell you all the time. But I think as far as personality, I do think most men think someone like me probably wouldn't be able to submit. And see, like I said, I don't have a problem with that. Like I tell them, I just think we both have to be, like the word says, I think we have to be submit to God and then one to another. So I think it'll work. I just think the perception is like somebody strong like me that, and then you have to know my background. That's why I was actually talking to one of my managers and he was just saying how he loves his lady friend because she's so submissive. And I said, I get it. I said, but you know, even someone like me, a man may think I can be, but I can't.
Yes.
But it's just that if a woman like me is not really going to do well with a man that is insecure or controlling or dominant, because I come from that type of father. So I think people have to realize that depending on what kind of background you come from, it can really mold you, and then you just have to really work through this. Like I've had to work through because I used to be like, no man gonna tell me that. Well, I don't think like that anymore. But I grew up with such a dominant father, rest his soul, because he's not no longer with us. But he was very militant, and his father was very militant, and my whole family is very militant, and they're just these really strong. Even my aunts, everybody's just really have deep voices, and everybody just. So I just learned to love, like, okay, this is part of me, but I just try to learn how to, I'm learning, of how I can't fight every battle. I mean, really, it's just, and being on defense, that also comes from that. So it's just like working through those things of when you recognize where it comes from, like growing up. And sometimes it's not a good thing because men do kind of judge you by that. But I always say you have to, if you know me, like, and you trust me, be true. listen, you come at me, Corinne, I definitely am not gonna be cussing at you. I'm not gonna be telling you shut up. But if you come at me a different way, then I'm probably gonna definitely, I'm gonna say, you can't talk to me like that, or we're gonna have a conversation about it, because I'm just not that type of woman that's gonna allow you to abuse me neither as well.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be equal. Because I hear a lot of men say what they want, but I think even as men, they have to know how to talk to women,
Right.
treat us like queens. And I
Right.
do see that in my family, like how they treat us, and just the way they dialogue with us. Now, some of them they still, they're real strong, but it's not disrespectful. So that's what I'm big on, is like, let us love one another, let us just treat each other with love as God. And then we ain't always gonna agree. But trust me, if you talking to me, the right way, even when there'll be some disagreements, we can have a conversation.
Right.
And let's just hear each other. But a lot of times it ain't like that. So yeah.
One of the chapters in my book on sexuality is one of the biggest chapters. And I want to hit upon that a little bit,
okay. Yeah.
Because I think it's big in the world and in the body of Christ. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Why is it such a big deal, Seleana Watkins?
Well, I think because, the way God created us, like, it's not supposed to be a bad thing, but I think a lot of it's just really the flesh and us just want to do what we want to do, really.
Well, okay, if we really think about us, how God made us, we need to understand as women that God has given us this gift and be influential, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't give it to us to manipulate and to control. And we have been taught in the church and out of the church that we use that to get what we want and have our way and get things with man. Let's be real, okay?
Yeah.
And so we're using our gifts and we use it in a negative way and yet to manipulate and to control. But what is that gift given to us for?
For the Lord, to please, really for him.
But then even dealing with mankind, even dealing with our husbands or when we get within a relationship, is not to use that sexuality to get them to do what we want them to do.
No, it's to serve God, but to serve them in a way where it's a godly way.
Yes.
I think sometimes we can do that. Because the way God has created, especially women, are physical bodies, and we know that. So even the way we dress, the way it's just a lot in just our whole, the way we carry ourselves. Like, sometimes we can carry that seductive spirit, even in the church. And myself, I'm very big on covering up. Especially when you have you're a thick woman. I just think there's certain things. Your body going to show if you're that way, but then there's certain garments and certain fabrics that you wear that it's going to be like bam versus others.
Right.
So I just think we have to do better at that, because and especially being single and when you're around married men, there's a certain way for me, hugging, I was raised like that. So I know when I was in church, man, used to get but other than my family or people I know, I try to really, if I'm hugging a married man, I try not to put my full body on them. And I just think or touch, it's just a certain way that you should conduct yourself.
So we as women know that the way we touch, what we do, how we say everything can really affect the man.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger now.
Yeah. To
the point where it's really totally out of control. That's one of the biggest things that we fall on. Yeah. Whether it's female or male. And so what do you feel like we can do to keep us more focused on the truth, knowing the truth? Well, one of the things that you said before, one of the things that she said before was her relationship with the Lord, her staying in her word and things like that. So would you say that's one of the things that helps you through that?
Yeah, I think also, again, going back to accountability, if we're in church having more small groups, if not the mentors, different, again, accountability partners to really walk you through that too. Because I think some people don't know, some people do know, but I just think we need that wisdom too of being able to, like, what do that look like and how to, we need more conversations on that.
That's good.
On
That's
how
good.
to really conduct yourselves.
Yes.
Because like
But if
I
I
said,
want what I want, and I know that my sexuality gets that, what becomes stronger, and that's why it has to do with our relationship with the Lord and our decision of what we want to do, because when we want what we want, we know how to get it.
yeah, and I think our motives we always have to check our motives and why we're doing certain things.
Yes.
And if you're being led by the Spirit, you're definitely being, well, for me, I'd be convicted quickly. So, like, I shouldn't have said that, or, just being careful, especially when you're married, that you're not having conversations with opposite sex. That's not your husband or wife, you know what I mean? Because that could become emotional affair and you don't even know it. I experienced that and I didn't even know it, but you just knowing you got to protect that, as a married couple, then being single, then you deal with, being, if there's conversations or any type of relationship with a guy, then it goes back to, okay, conducting yourself as a single woman,
Right.
and not trying to seduce or,
Right.
that point where for myself, I'm always like, you just don't want to open yourself up or even cause that man to fall. So, or yourself. So then it's just like, just walking through that process. If you got to be around other people when y'all go out or certain times, they're not over your house, you're over his house. So it's just a lot of stuff. I think we have to probably, you have to learn how to actually court or have those type of friendships or things like that when you are a single man and single woman of God, because if not, you're just going to be doing what the world do. And because I'm a very affectionate woman, so I had to learn. I was even told that I'd be touching, and even with my mom, I'm always hugging, or, and it's like a simple touch on the neck or anything like that, that can really trigger a man. So it's just, that's why I say, Lord, help me, because maybe I don't know how to do this, so it's like, okay, I can't even, let me be careful doing that. So you just have to know what to do, what you can't do, but be still free. Like, you don't want to feel like you're in bondage, but just walking through that stuff.
And I like what you said. You said we need to learn more about that, because you can see even little girls who are very flirtatious. It's something that God's putting us as women, but He's putting to us as women for a reason, and to learn what that reason is. And that's the thing that's not taught enough about how be empowered and influential in that way. And so one of the things that I think is really important is we need to, when I was coming up, guys, we couldn't talk about sex. We couldn't talk about being sexual. And a lot of young people wanted to know. And not talking about it is actually worse than talking about it. Because we need to, if we're not going to talk about it, then the world's going to tell us it's not going to be good. You know what I mean? And so what would you like to say to women, and then specifically single women, as far as how to be able to be as awesome as God has made you to be until God, if you want to get married and have a good relationship? What could you say to encourage them, or things that you've learned?
Well, just yeah. I think the experiences is good. It's not to say that, but I just think, again, really tapping into God, and worshiping and really getting to know God more for yourself. I think because as you, of course, God is our everything. So the more you grow, I'm always wanting to get closer. I just feel like sometimes God, I even want my heart. I really want to please you. So I just think with that, I think you'll be on the right track, because if not, then again, you won't. We can do. We really can. We have choices. So if you don't, then your whole agenda is going to be really about what you want to do. And we know the flesh. And I'm saying flesh, whether that's flesh is just, since we're talking about sexuality. It would be definitely having sex, that or porn, whatever. There's so much involved in that, porn, toys.
Right.
But toys is a whole nother. So it's just, a lot of stuff that still people in the church do to satisfy yourself. So it's just a lot of that stuff will open up, and even watching stuff and music. It's I try to be careful with that, because there could be certain music you listen to, and you're like, oh my gosh, your body automatically may start to react, respond to it. So it's just really being wise and not naive, like it's just music or it's just, oh, I'm just going to the strip club, whatever, of course. It's just those type of things feeding that sexual, even though if you're deciding to be something, because most people are not deciding like me. I'm just,
Right.
I'm like, and I ain't saying I've been perfect with this thing, but I do try to live this thing,
Right.
this celibacy, where it's just like, I try to make that very known. Sometimes, I mean, they say it's not good, but I think it's just those conversations that you need to have. This is where I am. This is, most of us, if you're a man of God, you should be in agreement with that. I mean, it shouldn't be like, oh, well, I've had that told to me, yeah, well, if it happened, it happened. I'm like, but we're not trying to happen. I'm not trying to do it at all. Right. So what do you mean? And so when you hear that, you're like, okay, well, he's basically saying, if it happened, it ain't the end of the world.
Right.
Well, we know God's gonna forgive us, but I'm just saying, so it just, again, that whole, it's just.
One more thing I want to say before we end is most women feel like they have to have somebody. You've got to have somebody. Now, somebody could be good, bad, or different, but I got to have somebody. So what would you say if a woman feels like she has to have somebody? Do you think it has anything to do with her self-esteem?
Absolutely. And I think it goes back to, again, I can only speak of my experience. I think as you go through life, and for me, it just makes you to where, and I think everybody's different too. I've always been the type of woman, I really didn't have to be around a person every day. So there are some women or some men that they want to be around that person every day. Now, when you marry, that's what it's a done deal. But even when you marry, there's, that's going to be a different dynamic. But I don't believe your life should have to stop completely. Like you don't do anything but just attend to each other. I think you both, it's about, that oneness, but also you both should be thriving in what God, your purpose, like whether y'all doing it should be together anyway. But then there may be other things that a woman, like, whether you writing a book or, God's called you, like with me with dance. I mean, you still should be thriving in what God has called you to do. It shouldn't stop. It should just be all become like a completion of your life, not to where, okay, it just stops, you know what I mean? To where, so that's how I feel. I think the woman just really has to just self-love. It's really about that, and just know, I think that knowing who you are part and then loving, receiving God's love.
Yes.
And then, just walking in it, and knowing that, just go out there and thrive and find different things that you may like to do. Because I think that's the thing. A lot of people don't know what it is, even in their 40s. You say, what is your passion? You'd be surprised how many people don't know that.
Don't know.
So when you find that, it really does make a difference. I really believe that.
Yeah, and one of the things that when I wrote The Wonderful Gift of Singleness wasn't that you want to stay single, but all the great and wonderful things you can do and finding out who you are and whose you are, and to be able to accomplish and during that time. Because when you get married, you understand that your time is now being spent with spending time with your husband or having children, whatever. The gift of singleness is to be able to do things. So many times I meet people, when they're single, they want to do nothing. Then they get married, they want to do all these great things. It's like, why didn't you do that when you were single?
Right.
And then now you have a responsibility, but now you want to travel, you want to you want to do all these great things that you should be doing, ladies.
Yes.
As a single woman, that is the gift. That's the wonderful gift of singleness.
Yes.
That you can tend to who you are, and some of your passions and your goals that you want to accomplish. And the importance is that you really have to know who you are. And I think as women, our self-esteem is a big deal. You know what I mean? Because if I don't have a man, or I don't have somebody in my life, then who am I? Well, you are just an awesome somebody that has God has all kind of plan for your life, and find out what that is and work it.
And I think too, like you said, learning to do things by yourself. Like I travel, I go to the movies, I do a lot of stuff by myself. So I think you have to get to that point of being okay with being by yourself and enjoying life. Because I would go to the movies.
You like yourself. Remember I said before, she likes herself.
And I would travel by myself.
You like yourself?
Yeah.
That's important. Then you have to find out why not.
Because if you like yourself and you're able to be by yourself, then the process is going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So you won't get depressed. Not to say you won't have them moments, because I have.
Right.
And we'll probably still
Exactly.
have your moments.
Yes.
But you still be able to get up every day, go to work, do your purpose, drive and purpose in your call of God, and still be okay. Like you still, the joy, Lord, will still be your strength.
Yes.
You're not moping around just because I am not, I don't have that man, or I'm not married, or whatever your situation is. I don't walk around like that. And then I've got okay with now my cousins like, so you ain't married yet? No, it's okay though. You know what I mean?
Right.
It happened.
Well, God has somebody awesome for her. I know. But in the meantime, I want you to meet this awesome woman of God, and the love and respect I have so much for her, not only as my mentee, but as a young lady I know throughout those years who have proven herself to grow and to learn. And one of the things that I do love the fact, Seleana, is that she doesn't mind accountability. And that is the biggest thing most people don't want. They don't want that accountability. They don't want anybody to sit down with somebody and go over some things like that. Women, I really wish you would find somebody who would be willing to do that with you. And I'm not talking about somebody who, or one of the things that sometimes people have friends around them, girl, take that. No, I'm talking about somebody who's gonna sit down and do some wholesome talk with you and love you and be able to guide you through your life, because God has such great plans for you. So as we're ending this podcast, I need you to understand that when Beauty of the Woman, which is the name of my book and the series that we're doing now, that name is given to you by God. It's not Beauty of a Woman, it's Beauty of the Woman, because God needs for you to know how important you are to Him and how powerful. If you could understand how powerful you are and the gifts that God has given you, you wouldn't take half the stuff that you take in this life and the things that you will accomplish. So we're going to end this podcast, and I want you to never forget Seleana Watkins.
LaDance Watkins.
LaDance Watkins, I like that. And, I want you to, I don't know about the Comedian Praise, but I've been to her in her production. She got a production coming up when?
Yeah, and next year, April. End of April. 2023.
And you should come, because and when you come to production, you see all her designs. Also, you go, wow, really? It's like that. So I look forward to you continue to follow us and follow these series and all these awesome women you're going to meet. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.